king and queen. When the king goes off to battle, the queen is the arbiter of the town of enforcing the king's rule.
Exactly.
The way we can fight this is just say, screw it, we ball, dude. Continue to like choose joy and happiness.
Like your works are gonna be answered for, but it's not. Your salvation is never in question.
Right.
Like it's always guaranteed. Welcome to Collective Advantage, where we're all slightly under the weather still. So,
Yeah. I'd like to start by addressing the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, you are under attack. Do not be alarmed, but your mind and will have been under attack for decades.
how?
Well,
Because this is another plot to piss me off.
no, this is serious.
Okay.
The sensationalization of news and the manipulation of algorithms and the internet and traumatic events over the past few decades are a concerted effort to devalue the life of every person on the planet. They want you to think that human life does not matter. When you see mass shootings and things like 9/11 and all of these events, and they flood the zone. That's a term that I want every American to get familiar with. Flooding the zone. They fill your mind with so much horrific stuff that they want you to be numb to, so that when you see like a building full of people gunned down, that it doesn't even faze you. You go, yeah, that's another week in America, dude. They do not want you to value human life so that you don't value your own life. Our minds are under attack by the media and by the people that control the media. And I think that's all I have to say about that. That's where I was going. But oh yeah, here it is. Here's the point. The bringing it all together. The fight the way we can fight this is just say, screw it, we ball, dude. Continue to like choose joy and happiness. Continue to see the value in life. And dude, life is good. Life rules. Like it sucks sometimes, but as long as you can like look the horrors dead in the face and go, screw it, we ball, dude, you're winning.
Well, I think the main way to combat that would be to go out into the world and see how people really are. You know what I mean? Like interact with each other, be social.
For sure.
Because a lot of that, now I get that some of that, I'm like, what in the world is he talking about? But after COVID, like they were like, oh, it's a lot easier to control people that are inside.
Dude, COVID was the final step. COVID was the I think that's what they were setting up.
I think COVID was like the first step.
No way,
You know
dude.
what I
It
mean?
started way before that.
I think this would hit different if you didn't come off as like a baby Alex Jones.
No, he's not Alex Jones.
No.
Little baby Alex Jones.
Alex Jones hits some dingers though, dude.
I don't think that every major like mass shooting or anything like that is like a constructed like
Psyop.
some kind of conspiracy, but I do think that they use it as such.
Do you
I
they
think
would
some
play
of
it
these
so much
events.
if we didn't like watching it so much, like the
Yeah.
No,
I think they would play
not
it
at all.
regardless.
No, not
You don't think they would play it regardless?
no. There's a bunch of stuff that happens that doesn't make the news. Like, I think they pick certain events that they know they can run with and keep it in the news and perpetuate it. Because, like,
I think they pick the ones that they can use for their agenda.
exactly. And I think that they won't, when they think they've got a good one, they won't let you forget it.
Well, and
They'll
90%
keep it in
of
the
time,
news cycle for like months at a time.
if it has to do with like race or sex or something, that's the ones they're gonna leave. And I mean, like,
Yeah.
because I mean, you have to think like Charlie Kirk's, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that was. I don't know on that one. I don't really know what happened as far as like why it happened. But what I do know is they pushed the whole transgender deal on the guy, like he was a whatever. Right?
Yeah.
And
Have you seen the evidence coming out on this stuff? Like all this stuff that's coming out with this?
Is it the stuff that was originally out, like the text messages and all of that stuff?
Like the shape charge on his mic that was clipped on the inside of his shirt for the first time when they normally clipped it on the outside, and it was a shape charge that blew up into his neck.
So is that confirmed?
It's not confirmed.
Okay,
but
yeah,
it's
I've seen people speculating about that.
there was a lot of people speculating about it, and Candace Owens was talking to a guy that was like really into what is it, the PET or whatever the hell this little shape charge thing is.
Yeah.
But they looked at pictures they got exclusive pictures from inside of the vehicle, and they saw the sharticles of the mic that fell out of his shirt that would confirm the theory of the mic being a shape charge.
Yeah.
And the trajectory of the impact.
So
and the inconsistencies of the bullet.
So
that part makes sense because I've shot a deer with a 30-06, and it's like the part of the deer that was hit with the 30-06 is much thicker than his like neck, right? That was not a 30-06. Let's be real. Like, there's no way that was a 39.
You don't think he had a Superman Man of Steel neck?
No. I don't think the rifle that they found is
chance.
the rifle that he was shot with.
No chance.
Because it doesn't make sense. There's no reason it makes sense to have the rifle disassembled, get up on the roof, assemble the rifle. It still holds zero so much that you can hit a neck at 140 yards. And obviously he wasn't aiming for the neck.
Yeah, it was a headshot.
Yeah,
they say.
he missed the head is what I think.
Yeah, that's what I
But
think too.
without any confirmation shot to make sure you're still zeroed, hitting somebody's neck from 140 yards or more,
Yeah.
I think it's a 140, and then disassemble the rifle, jump off the roof, reassemble the rifle,
it's
plant it in a
bullcrap,
wood
dude.
line. No,
Yeah.
the rifle that was recovered, I don't think is the one he was shot with.
No.
I
No
think that
chance.
should have been an easy
But
shot.
I also want to
It
say
should have been an
It should have been a
easy shot.
super easy
Have you
shot.
seen the rifle though? They're
Yeah.
saying he used. It looks like some crap off of the freaking Walmart shelf that's not even put together right, and the scope's not in the rings right.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, come on.
it
No
should be
way.
an easy shot with a rifle with a confirmed zero. But if you disassembled it, put it all back together from the rooftop, like, come on, dude.
No. And
So
like, I
but-
have mixed emotions about Candace anyway.
that's
I'm
what I was
I'm
going to
starting
say.
to
I
think he-
think
I
she's
don't think he was
controlled
shot.
opposition.
I don't think he was shot. I can agree with it. It makes more sense than him being shot and the 30-06 angling down and going through all of his like vertebrae.
I think
that
he
makes
was,
no sense to me.
I don't think he was shot with a 30-06 from old boy's position. No way.
I think the little shape charge thing makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
While I'm watching the video and watching the way that everything moves, the way everything happens, you can see
Yeah.
it all. Like, unfortunately, there's really good shots of it. So
Yeah, really good video.
Yeah, it's one of the most like disturbing videos I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But it makes it that theory makes a lot more sense.
But
with
I
the
also
pictures.
think that that's on purpose. When I talk about like I think they show us things like that to like desensitize the general public.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think they show us things like that to like I think it's part of like an MK Ultra like plot to like traumatize people with these like crazy events to keep them worried.
Well,
to
and I
keep
don't know that it's
them-
to keep them worried as much as it is to just desensitize the public, because if you desensitize the public to things like that, they're not going to be like, oh, no, this is out of the ordinary. They're going to be like, oh, this is just, I mean,
I
like
think
you
most
said,
people
it's
thought it was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was awful, and I think
It
I'm pretty
was.
desensitized.
It was
from that kind of
horrible,
stuff.
dude.
Yeah.
Like, it made me like I teared up when I saw
Yeah.
that. I was like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I
Especially
don't know
when you
that
start
dude,
thinking about
but
his family and stuff, you know?
I don't know that dude. I've never met that dude, but I know he's a good dude.
Mm-hmm.
Talks about my God, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he does it in a great way. So
I don't like to see that happen to anybody.
yeah,
Like, even if he was a freaking turd bag.
yeah, I agree.
Like, I've never understood the whole, like, like I know people say like, oh, public execution needs to be brought back. That's like hanging in the courtyard, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm not for that per se. I don't think death is
No.
something that we should want to watch.
Going
yeah,
back to the
I agree.
Candace Owens things real quick, I'm not like a
Yeah.
huge follower of Candace Owens. I don't really know much about her, but the evidence that she talked about made a lot more sense than the evidence that has been produced by the FBI.
Yeah.
Which, you know, if they're still going through trial, I understand there's things that aren't going to be produced until after the whole trial and everything. But it makes a lot more sense than what they're saying right now.
Well, and we've seen like, okay, our job, we investigate people that have videoed things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you can watch a video after the fact and say, like, it's easy to fit something like say the truth is not what's being told to you originally.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to watch the video and you're like, oh, okay, so what could this have been? You know what I'm saying? So like watching it back and saying like, oh, okay, well, the way the shirt like kind of popped up or whatever, and the damage is like downward per se into his spine and stuff. It's like they were like after the fact they're like, what could fit this?
Mm-hmm.
And could we make the shape charge fit the description of the video or the like the way the video looked?
Yeah.
I think the shape charge thing goes in the opposite direction, but it makes more sense with the things that you can see. Like the downward angle and then going down into the vertebrae somehow, the 30-06 not blasting straight through all that.
Yeah.
Instead, clipping it and going down into his vertebrae, hitting it, you know.
Well, which bullets do crazy stuff, but a 30-06 is not. I'm not saying that it was the 30-06 is true. I don't think that's true. But somebody taking a shot like that with like a 5.56 or something.
Yeah, they do wild things, but they also follow patterns. Like if you shoot a long something, it will most likely travel along something. Like how many times have you seen a bullet? Sure, has it happened? Sure, but how often do you see a bullet turn 90 degrees and go like a completely different direction? That's not something you see often.
It depends on its like velocity when it hits though.
Yeah,
Because the bone and stuff and meat, like it's gonna change all of that.
Yeah.
that's a crazy thing for bone and flesh that it's designed to shoot through for hunting.
Unless it was like a steeper angle than we're thinking. If it went like on a downward path into his abdomen,
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Especially if it hits like his clavicle and then gets lodged in like the rib cage or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think it makes more like, I think if Mike was here, the
Yeah.
necklace blows up and around this way, and you know what I mean? It just makes more sense thinking about it.
For it
that
to
way.
be like upward.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
I don't
Yeah.
buy the whole mic thing because then you also have to believe that like a lot of what goes with that theory is that that plant that blew up here in Tennessee was the one that manufactured
Yeah.
that like explosive.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a hard time believing that like all of that is connected.
I normally don't believe in grand conspiracies, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
I just don't know.
you not being a conspiracy guy, why do you think Charlie was killed?
Why? I mean, he said a lot of things people didn't like. He talked
A lot of things about
the Jewish people. Is that where you're getting AIPAC? He
I'm-
did
I'm
speak
just-
against it, yes.
I want to see where your head is at.
Well,
with it.
and
I
you-
kind of
it-
agree with that.
It is no coincidence that right after he's killed, they take the money from APAC.
Yeah.
And right before he was killed, they were offered the money and it was turned down.
Exactly.
Mhm.
It's strange.
That is a fact. Those
I agree.
are facts.
I
you
agree
know?
that is very odd. Yeah.
But it could be just another U.S. thing where it's like, okay, they're capitalizing on what happened.
At this point, if they discovered it was because of AIPAC or something like that, I would be like, wow. I mean, it kind of makes sense. I wouldn't be shocked
Yeah.
now at this
Yeah.
point.
But I don't think we'll ever know the truth.
We won't. We won't.
Yeah.
It's like any other, like there's investigations at work where we're not going to know the truth. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
It's so, like, I think the U.S., anytime the government's involved in anything, regardless of whether it's like a good or a bad outcome, we never know the whole truth. You just don't, they don't tell you anything.
For sure.
Because people that are in the dark are going to be talking. And if you're in the dark, then there's no like definitive, this is what happened. And the people who are on one side don't have to accept it if it's not the truth. See what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like if the truth comes out, then it's like, oh shoot, well this guy was this way, or this girl was this way, or like, and they're like, okay, well if we don't tell them the truth, then we can just let them fight amongst each other and
Yeah.
be distracted. You know?
Yeah. for sure.
Well, I think I don't know, just for stuff like this to be pulled off in this way, that we're still going on with it, and where everything's still unclear, there has to be some sort of overreach involved with it, a bigger hand at play. You know what I mean? Because
but
some
where
you're
I
telling
think
me
that,
some little tranny, skinny jean wearing kid plotted all this and schemed it
No
all in a
chance.
way that
No chance.
we can't have just figured this out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
No.
And my
No.
thing is like, I don't necessarily think it's a grand conspiracy as far as like the government goes. I think it's a spiritual thing. Like I think.
Oh yeah,
you know
for
what I mean?
sure. But I think it's both. I think, like, if I really had to say exactly what I think is going on, I think the invisible power structure worships Baal. There is a Satanist element
Yeah.
to the invisible power structure that not only do they profit off of all these schemes, but they are done in the name of doing Satan's will on earth.
I agree. Now, I don't necessarily think that these folks are like, it may not be satanic in like what they're in, but anything
I think
that's
the
not,
highest circle of this invisible power structure
Yeah.
is allegiant to Satan, and I think everybody else is just in it for money.
But what I'm saying is I don't think they're allegiant to Satan. I just think that's the way he's using their power and money and stuff to manipulate these people.
Dude, if you watch like the videos of them at like Bohemian Grove, like worshiping Moloch,
That's such a crock, though, dude.
no,
I don't believe
that's
any of that.
100%.
It could be real. It could be, but it's like,
Or like, have you seen the videos of them doing like weird like rituals at like the CERN like particle accelerator?
no.
Dude, when
Well-
you get a chance, look that up. They're sitting around this particle accelerator, which is already like kind of like spooky, like magic science, like weird, like, all right, do you tell me you're like trying to find the God particle? Like you're already on some weird stuff,
that
and then
is
you're putting
weird,
on
yes.
robes and like chanting around this like piece of technology. Like
Yeah.
it's weird, dude.
Well, what I'm saying is I don't think they're like hailing Satan. I think it's like I think they want the ultimate power. They want to be like God.
I know
right?
it sounds like some
And-
like schizo stuff, but that's exactly what Satan wanted.
That's what I'm saying though, is like I don't think they're intentionally like, okay, we should do everything Satan says. But they're like, anything that's not for God is against God.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think they've got some sort of entity, which I mean, it very well could be like Satan or whatever, or one of his minions. You know what I mean? It's one or the other. So, but they're like, oh, okay, we can get all this power and money if we do what this thing says, and then they see it.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I mean? Because right now, the author of what goes on as far as what, like, if you get something in an unholy way, you know what I mean? Like material goods.
Yeah.
Which 90% of what we have, we don't need anyways, you know? But that is orchestrated by the devil right now, I think.
Yeah.
You know? Because he gave him dominion over the world.
So weird. We were talking about this earlier, me and my wife.
Yeah?
Yeah. We had some Jehovah Witnesses stop by.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. They're really nice, and I sat on the porch and I watched a little video, and I was polite to them, but they were like, if you want to come out to our church, I was like, I appreciate it, but no thank you.
I have a weird stance on them. So it depends on the day. Like if they came to my door today, it would not have been a good one.
No, get
Well,
out of here.
I'm not going to be rude
Dude,
to them
I
because
would
I don't
be.
want, like, I got a cross on my door. That's the first thing she said.
Yeah.
Is, you guys are Christian? And I was like, oh, yes, ma'am.
Heretics.
Mhm.
And she was like, oh, you know what I mean? I don't want to, well, no, because, I mean, the goal would be to convert them. I'm not going to be an asshole to them
Yeah,
and
yeah,
put a
yeah.
bad taste in their mouth about Christians. Then they'll never come.
Mhm.
And they may not anyways, and I wouldn't be the one to turn them because I don't
Yeah.
know enough to debate them on the spot right now.
Yeah.
But one day I will. And that shouldn't be your outlook. But anyways,
It's mine.
My wife was like, what's bad about Jehovah Witnesses? And I was like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, they believe that Jesus isn't Jesus. They believe, what do they believe? He's the Archangel Michael, right? They
Some
believe-
silly stuff like
They don't
that.
think
Yeah.
that he was, they don't think he's God. They think he was created by God after the fact.
Yeah.
And they basically don't believe in the resurrection, like the whole purpose of Jesus to begin
Yeah.
with. You know what I mean? The big deal about the most important part of the Bible is where he washed away our sins.
Mm-hmm.
And they believe in, what are these? It's like 8 dudes in New York or something like that. They get all their information from. Like, they're a pretty brainwashed
They're
culture.
weird. They're like an isolationist cult
Yeah.
for sure.
They have
Like,
their own
without a
Bible
doubt.
that was made in like the 1870s or something like that.
Well,
that
from what I
they
understand,
only
they
get their
believe-
information from.
They believe Jehovah and Jesus are two different people.
Yeah,
Well, that's what
they don't
yeah, that's
believe
what you just
Jesus
said.
is Jesus. They think he's the Archangel Michael.
Yeah.
That's
is what
weird.
they say.
Well, I've heard that a lot.
Yeah,
They're a strange
Not
group.
just from Jehovah Witness people though.
I don't know that. I just know that like they're on. This is the point.
Yeah.
This is another, to me, this is another religion designed by the devil, because the devil knows the Bible better than we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He knows the Bible just as well as Jesus does.
Well, he tried to use it against Jesus. at one
Exactly.
time.
So this is another invention, just like Islam, like
Yeah.
and Satan.
That's
Satanism
why.
it's so close to the Bible. It's about peace and all the nice things from the Bible, but just twisted in
Yeah.
a way that is just it's just not the Bible.
Well, and he doesn't need you to be like devious or evil or whatever. He just needs you to not believe.
Yeah.
You know
as
what I
long as you
mean?
don't accept Jesus as Christ and King, then you're going to hell.
Yeah, and you
So-
can live a pretty comfortable life on earth not believing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you
And you can be a good person. You
Yeah.
can be nice to people, and you can be,
Yeah.
you can have humility, and you can be giving, and you can be a fantastic human being to be around
yeah.
with no salvation, unfortunately. And that's the plot. Because,
Yeah.
as long as you're enlisted in his army, it really doesn't matter what you do here.
Yeah. See, I was watching something last night that was it was talking about shoot, what was it? Cuz you just said what it was. About like your salvation versus like your works or whatever.
Yeah.
And that like some people are held to a higher standard by God because they've like fulfilled the role of like teachers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of like spreading the word. And it was talking about, I think it might actually be in the next little bit of Luke. I can't remember. But anyways, he was talking about like where God says like the teachers would be like not reprimanded, but it like their salvation's not ever going to be affected, right? Because once you're saved, you're saved. Like,
Yeah. I think this is in
know
Luke
that's not
19.
I know,
Is
it
it?
may be,
Uh-oh.
but
I think I just heard this recently.
but he was talking about how like there are going to be like your works are going to be answered for,
Mhm.
but it's not your salvation is never in question.
Right.
Like it's always guaranteed.
It's a
because
gift.
and the dude was talking about like Bible studies and stuff. He was like, he was like, you have to hold a certain weight to what you're doing. That's more than just being a Christian. Like if you're running a Bible study, if you're a pastor or whatever, he's like, you're responsible for sharing the word to people. So you are a teacher, and what you're doing is important. And it's not just like, oh well, like as long as I can get them to believe, it's all good, you know. And which, granted, on the salvation side of things, 100% that's the case. Like if as long as they believe in Christ, that He was the one and holy God, you know, then that He died for our sins, like they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a really good discussion. But he was talking about like going in depth on how the Bible says like we're gonna not rewards. I don't really remember what the wording was, but it was like as a teacher, as this, you're expected to hold yourself to a higher standard, and that your works are going to determine what happens to you.
Yeah.
Not what happens to you as far as like, okay, do I live eternally with God? But like what happens once you get there. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I've never really thought of it that way, you know?
Yeah, dude. That's crazy. That is scary.
Yeah.
That's one thing, like, I could never be a preacher.
Well, and it
Like,
also...
I don't want to be held to that kind of, like, responsibility, dude.
We're still going to be held, though. Everything we talk about in here is on to the public 100%.
Yeah.
You think it's not... I'm not saying we're
Yeah,
pastors.
But I
I'm
don't
not
have a
saying-
flock. I don't have a congregation, dude.
You do. We have people that watch every week.
We have a following.
That's a following, dude. We've made it clear from day one. We're not preachers. We're
still setting an
imperfect
example.
guys
Yeah.
trying to figure this out.
You're still setting an example.
I ain't no preacher, dude.
I'm not saying you are, but it doesn't say preachers.
No, but the
It
Bible
says
says we
teachers.
have to live in holiness, and that is our example, is to try to
Yeah,
become
absolutely.
holier every time that we get on here. Like,
Yeah.
I think if you watch from the beginning to now, I think we have become a little bit more in holiness every time. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah, I agree with that.
the foulness and all that kind of stuff is toned down. Do we still
Yeah.
do it? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you know
well,
what I
and
mean?
I think it's it's a mindset shift
Yeah.
more than anything.
And that's
'cause-
how you know, because we've been convicted now. We are being convicted because now the Lord is using us
yeah.
to reach people, whether we like it or not, whether we know it or not, whether you can comprehend it or not. We
Yeah.
are reaching
Yeah.
somebody or 87 people. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows who listens and just like, that's funny.
Well, and
Or
it
who
also
listens
helps.
and goes, that's cool.
It helped, like I was telling Booker this last night because he called me right after. But like, so I go to a call last night, and the lady's daughter said that she was wanting to like harm herself, right? So I get there, and she's talking about just like her life, right? Like this lady's mom had passed away, and she's living in her house, and like she's dealing with all this stuff. She's coming off antidepressants at the same time. She quit them cold turkey 3 weeks ago, and it's like, I could have been like, okay, well, do you want to harm yourself or not? You know? And she was like, no. I did ask her, like, okay, well, this is, I'm a little softer than other people as far as the going into the discussion goes, because I feel like I can get more. So I talked to her for a minute, and I'm like, do you want to do this to yourself? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay. So then we just start talking, and I'm like, well, what's going on? Like, what's the matter? And I could have left. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she tells me, I'm like, okay, so I mean, it sounds like you're dealing with some crap that really sucks. And she's like, yeah. She's like, I'll tell you right now, like I have prayed that I want God to just take me so I can be with my mother again and be with him. She's like, why would I not want to be with him? I'm like, okay, well, and before I'd been like, oh, this lady does want to harm herself, you know? And now I'm like, that's a very valid argument. It's a valid request, you know? So I'm like, we're talking back and forth, and I'm like, okay, so you prayed, you know, so you believe. And she's like, yeah. She's like, yeah, I'm a Christian. And we talked back and forth, and I was like, okay, so, like, what are you doing to deal with all this? Because basically she had a falling out with her 18-year-old daughter, and the daughter said some off-the-wall crazy stuff like daughters can do and cut you to the core, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And
Hateful
she's
kid stuff.
Yeah, well, she's a single mom, so like she doesn't know how to deal with it. She's coming off antidepressants, so it's like I talked to her for a minute, and she's like, "Well, what do you think I should do?" And at that point, we're supposed to be like, "Oh, well, I mean, I can't give you my opinion, you know." And I was like, "Well, what have you been doing in your spare time?" I was like, "I know you said you work 2 jobs, but like, there's time when you're not working." And she was like, "Yeah." She said, "I'll come in here," and she's like, "I scroll TikTok or whatever." And eventually it like leads me down a hole of like dealing with mom died stuff, and I get really upset and I cry myself to sleep. And I was like, okay, so you're relying on social media to like fill the void for you. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, I get it. And social media can be great. I was like, but depending on what you've typed into your phone, it's going to spit out things that it thinks will keep your attention. And she's like, yeah. She's like, but I just need my my time to be taken up. And I'm like, I get that. But social media is designed to keep you on social media for the purpose of advertising. It's not, and I'm not saying that's good or bad. Like they have a job, you know, and obviously we are now in that world of social media. So it's like there are good things from it. But I was like, it's designed to keep you on it. So that could be good, that could be bad, depending on what you've looked up and how you've done it, you know. I was like, a book cannot do that. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, if you're reading, it's not going to, like, the words aren't going to change based off of what you, like, are looking at and, like, how you're, like, maybe something will draw your attention that's very upsetting because you can relate to it. And the algorithm's going to change what it feeds you based off of that, right? It's like, oh, this lady saw this and she stayed for the X amount of time, so we're going to give her more of this. And I was like, a book cannot do that. I was like, so if you pick up a book and read it, regardless of what it's about, if that is in your interest to make you better, it's going to stay that way depending on, I mean, I'm sure the author, like their intention is not going to change. She's like, okay. So we started talking about the Bible, and she's like, well, where do I look to find this? And like before I'd have been like, oh man, I don't know. But now I was like, if you're trying to figure out yourself and who you are and how to deal with something and you're not sure, I wouldn't go hunting for that exact answer. I was like, I would just start studying what Jesus did and said and who he was. And
Yeah,
she's like,
100%.
yeah. And she's like, really? I was like, yeah, I would start in the New Testament. Like, I don't, used to, I'd be like, start in Genesis because it's the very first part. So clearly that's what, you know? But now I'm like, once you study Christ and the way he was, the way he carried himself, your outlook on life changes. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that that's not going to happen if you read like, you know, like Deuteronomy or something, or like whatever. Like it's going to have an effect on you regardless.
And we have all these tools now. Use ChatGPT to look. You don't have to use it as a tool, not as the knowledge. You type in what you're looking for, and it'll take you to the scripture. You find it in your Bible and read it from the scripture.
Yeah, if you're capable of thinking, okay, I'm going to use it as a tool. I agree with that.
Yeah,
most people are not. They're
I wouldn't just read it off of that.
That's what they're going to go to. They're going to use it as they go to.
Yeah.
But like I was like starting there, and I was like, that's what I did. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, we deal with emotional crap all the time. I was like, just because I'm not dealing with my mother dying doesn't mean that I've not been in a situation where I was at a low, like you know. And she's like, that really makes sense. I was like, yeah, I mean, that's what I did. I was like, it worked for me. And I was like, not everything I do is going to work for you. Not everything your work, because she was talking about like a group at her work, right, where all their like parents and stuff have died. And I was like, just because it works for them and you're wondering why is it not working for you, it's because you're a different person. I was like, but the good thing is Christ came and answered for our sins, and he came for everyone. So your solution is going to be there. Like I can tell you with like the utmost certainty that if you seek Christ, you will find your solution.
Yeah.
I can't tell you like, oh, well, if you like, because I was talking about like working out and stuff that she did have control of, right? Because she just felt like she was out of control of her life.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about some stuff. I was like, but that may not work for you. Like, it works for me. It works for a lot of other people, but it may not work for you. I was like, but I promise you, Christ will work for you because he was here for all of us, for everybody, for every man that ever lived, every woman that ever lived. That was his purpose when he came here. And he shows us the perfect example of what we are supposed to be. And she's like, oh, okay, well, that really makes sense. And it was cool because like, I could have cleared that call in like 5 minutes, but I was there for probably like 25, you know? Yeah. And we were just talking the whole time. And it's like, before we left, she said, I really am glad you guys showed up. And I was like, well, yeah, anytime. And she's like, no, for real. She was like, I thought nobody gives a shit about me whatsoever. And she's like, but you guys showing up. And it was me, Chuck, and 2 ambulance crew. And she's like, there's at least 4 people that actually care about me. I was like, yeah, 100%. I said, otherwise I would have left as soon as you told me you weren't wanting to arm yourself. I was like, but I want to make sure you're not.
Yeah.
And I also want to make sure that you get something from this. Not just like, oh, the cops showed up. I was like, because your daughter, even though I don't know if the daughter's the one who called us or not. I think it is, but I don't know. I don't look at that on those. You know what I mean? It's like kind of void. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And she was like, I was like, and you might have been frustrated when we first got here. And she's like, oh, yeah, I was. I was like, so I get being mad at your daughter. I was like, but your daughter's 18. She's just getting everything figured out. She left. You know, she's left today. She was kicked out.
She's
basically.
Still a child.
Like, yeah. I was like, you can't. That's all you have to put stock in is her because you say you put so much stock into your mom. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, well, now your mom's not here, like you said. So it's like, you can't rely on her. You know, she's at the right hand of God. She's up there with Christ, you know? And she's like, yeah, she is. And I was like, how would you want your mom to come back here? And she's like, oh, no, I can never take that from her. And I was like, yeah, and it's hard because there's a void there, right? Our mom's gone. Like,
I think
there's a void.
I think that's the best response to somebody passing. It's like, should you be upset? Yes.
Yeah.
Should you remember all the times that you laughed and you cried and you smiled and you played around with them and be upset? Yes. Even Jesus said there's a time to mourn, right? Even Jesus mourned with people. He mourned with people. Your friends and your family should come and mourn with you. That's what we're supposed to do. But you're not sad because they're in heaven. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're sad because there's a void in your heart now.
Yeah, because you remember what you had.
Yeah.
It's gone now.
Yeah.
But you're happy. You celebrate the end of their life and the beginning of their new life.
It was like, it kind of drove home to me like it was very important to be open. Because like I wouldn't want my family to not know. You know what I mean? Like I know you never truly know what's in someone's heart as an individual, but
we throw around the public servant word a lot, and oftentimes we're not because we get so jaded to dealing with BS after BS, and I've done it myself.
Yeah.
Right. You show up and you're just like, I don't want to deal with this because this is another bull crap call. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's constant. It's annoying.
Yeah.
It's obnoxious. But public servant means to serve the people that you're working for, which is the public, the people that you go to the calls to.
Yeah. Well, we get hung up in like, what's the operating procedure for this call, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we move on.
Not what's the right thing to do. There's nowhere it says you can't do exactly what you did, and what you did is should it be how we always handle it, with compassion and empathy.
Well, and it's like we were talking about, like, it's like you kind of let people's idea of a good cop outweigh the idea of being a good person.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes the dope, you just got to let it go because this lady needs you right now. You know what I mean? Or like, because the same thing happened right after I left there. Like I go to the gas station, dude, and it's like, I've talked to this lady. This is probably like 2-3 hours later. And I look over and it's like a girl just bawling her eyes out, dude. And I was like, like it's like 3 a.m. at this point or 2. And I'm like exhausted. Obviously, we've been sick the past few weeks or the past week. So it's like, I look over and I'm like, I just got, dude, a crisp, ripe, Uncrustable, dude. And that's all I'm gonna do is eat this peanut butter and jelly. Like I'm like, I need a little bit of some carbs, you know? I look over and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Right?
Yeah.
The human part of me is like, I mean, it's clearly not something criminal, you know? Like, I don't have to talk to this lady, but I'm like,
she's just crying like women do.
Sure. So I get out of my car, I walk around, I'm like, I'll be out with this lady. I'm talking to her.
Sounds like a woman being a woman to me.
And the way she was compared to the way the other lady was like she was a little bit harder to deal with because she was trying. There was a little bit of stuff she was trying to hide. Right? She didn't want me to know that her boyfriend like had a no contact on him. I could tell it once she finally told me. She didn't want me to know that originally. I'm like, whatever, you know. And so I get out. I'm like, what's up? She's like, I'm just really sad. I'm like, okay. And in my head, I'm like, do I really want to sit here and talk to this lady? Like, she's clearly fine. Like, she's not going to do anything, and she's just upset. So I'm like, all right, well, this is about over with. And I was like, no, I can't, like, give the first lady the time and not this lady just because I'm tired and lazy, you know? So I'm like, all right. So I talk back and forth. I'm like, you going to be okay? She's like, yeah, shout for a drive. And it's like, it's crazy how quick my mind could be, like, so, like, quick to turn back to how I feel. You know what I mean? Like the other one, it was different because it was early on in the shift and it was a call. Like I get there, this lady, I'm like, I'm wore out, sick, tired. Like,
you don't have to be there, and it would have been super easy for you to just walk away and get in your car and not mess with it to begin with.
And then like what I'm saying is like this, what we're doing has changed my shit. Like has shifted my mind to where like there's certain stuff that matters to me and there's certain stuff that doesn't matter to me anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like this was a matter of like
you were convicted.
I have to take care of this lady. Not like I have to do anything. Like I don't like because all I did was talk to her. Like I was just and I didn't even really talk this much.
And that's
like,
all it takes normally. Like a lot of the time people just need to feel seen and have a chance to like say what they're going through.
Yeah. But it's crazy to see like when you really are thinking about what's going on. Like she was like so incredibly upset, like almost to the same level as the lady who had some like real, and I'm not saying this lady's issues weren't real, but like this other one, like her mom died. That was her only person. She's a single mother. She's now losing her daughter per se to the world. Right.
Yeah.
And like, she's dealing with some heavy crap. And then this lady is just as upset because she can't talk to her boyfriend, right? Because he has a no contact on him. So she's really upset that she can't talk to him. And I'm like, I told her, I was like, so those things don't just get handed out. Like something had to happen, right? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, so he probably did something that wasn't that good. And she's like, oh yeah, for sure. And I was like, okay, well, this will pass. And if it wasn't a big deal, then it'll pass. And if it was a big deal, then this is you coming to the realization of like something had to change. She's like, I know, I'm just so upset. But it was just crazy to me, like, when you really start paying attention to how people feel and not like what's the requirement on this call or like what's the, you know, whatever. Like there's nothing criminal, so I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
Like the levels of which people can be affected by different things, you know. And before I would have never like I cared about people, like don't get me wrong, but that me being tired and not feeling like it and wanting to eat and like thirsty, you know, like I would have been like, all right, I'm not messing with this. Like she's fine, I'm leaving, you know. And that's changed a lot for me because like if you want to go to like the extreme, look at what all Christ went through for us, and he didn't have to, you know. So it's like, okay, I can stand here and talk to this lady for 20 minutes, you know. It's not gonna. So it just made me think last night because, like, obviously we've not been feeling well, and like last night I really didn't feel well, and I was like, this sucks, man. Like I don't even want to be here, just in general. Like yeah. After about midnight, man, I was like,
I was right there with you, dude.
like this is not. What am I doing? Like this is not worth it. Like I'm just gonna go home. You know?
Yeah.
So.
I wanted to say you brought up ChatGPT earlier. Did you see where I don't put a lot of stock in what the Pope says? He's just a guy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he's imperfect like anybody else. But did you see where he like wrote up like this big paper condemning artificial intelligence?
No, I did not. Dude. This Pope, dude, he said like
he's kind of going off.
He has been.
Like he came out and said Mary isn't the co-savior. I was like, dude,
that was a big problem when he said that too.
Yeah. I kind of like him, dude, the American Pope. But he came out and said that like AI is like it's of the devil and it's a transhumanist, like new age humanist like tool. And that like it's not cool and it needs to stop.
Well, I agree with that, but I agree with
100%.
the fact that all technology that has to do with if this is in your hand, I think it was a tool of the devil. I do not think because like
I think that the spirit behind AI and trying to create another being.
Well, there's some people who think that AI isn't even AI. Like they think it's not artificial.
What do you mean by
They
that?
believe that it's like an entity that's like tapping it. Like it's like, okay, well, I'm sending it to this entity and this entity's sending me something back. That's a lot of people are of that belief that are in the Christian world, right? Me, I'm like, okay, this is just another tool of the devil. Like whatever, we can use it. But the good thing
I think it's particularly evil more than just the natural cycle of technology getting better. I think the spirit behind it is evil. I think Peter Thiel is evil. Sam Altman is evil.
Did you see that thing where it leaked all those people that are going to go to that big like billionaires meeting deal? Did you see that?
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah,
dude.
It's like a list of people.
Did you know Palantir? I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
It just struck me in the moment. Palantir is named after something out of the Lord of the Rings. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Do you know what a Palantir is in Lord of the Rings?
No.
It's a seeing stone. It's like I watched the movie. It's really boring. I hated Lord of the Rings.
It's a good movie.
It's so boring.
I never could
The books are really cool.
could get bought into it.
But Saruman, the White Wizard, had this like stone, and he got like addicted to like just spying on people all the time. That's what he's named his company after. This like ability to see everything all the time.
Yeah.
If that's not like right there, that's like, dude, you're evil. That's bad.
Yeah. I agree.
Like
that
he's
AI,
so obviously like a James Bond villain level of evil.
Yeah.
And JD is his boy.
I know, dude. I know. That's what I didn't like.
Dude.
But I don't think there's any politician that has gotten to where they're at that level that has done it in like a
but
good way.
I definitely don't like them being like the friends with the guy that's like, yeah, I want to see everybody all the time and completely like do away with any form of privacy. And we should live in like this digital like hellscape where I can track everybody at any given time. Like ask my computer where they're at and I know exactly
where
they're
and what's even more strange to me is he's not like a governmental figure. He's just a
guy.
Citizen. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, at least the government could have the argument of, like, sort of like the old Patriot Act, you know? But now it's like, okay, this guy who's a private citizen just wants to have all this information. Why?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's weird.
that's insane.
It's weird.
He's like clearly an evil guy. Like he's a supervillain.
Yeah. Which is why I don't think he's the Antichrist. A lot of people say he is. I don't think he is because I don't think it's going to be that obvious.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that obvious.
You
But
know?
like I think of it like we don't know what it's like to live in a world without the bomb. I think when Oppenheimer invented the atomic bomb, it changed everything forever.
Mm-hmm. Well, even Oppenheimer knew that, according to
Yes.
the movie.
But I think that we're on the precipice of like a second big like change. Like
Like Pandora's
Once-
box type
yes, once AI reaches its like whatever maturity, whatever state Peter Thiel and these evil people are trying to get it to, the world will never be the same after that.
deal. No, it's already not the same. Just the
Yeah.
release of AI to the public is made it to where it's like not the same.
It's dude, there's nothing about it that gives me a good feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, there's good that can be done with it for sure, but like, it's far outweighed by the bad, I think.
Yeah.
But you can't put it back in. Like, there's
It's
no.
terrifying,
it's here.
dude.
There's no like, it's out. Like AI's not going anywhere. It's only going to get stronger. You know, you're not going to stop the data centers. You know what I mean? Like people can say, "Oh well, I mean, it stopped here." No, it stopped here because they didn't have enough water. That's why it didn't happen. Like it's not. They don't give. The commission has nothing to do with that. It's a private company.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like it was a government thing.
Yeah. Have you seen the Watchmen?
Yes.
So there's a line from the end of the movie.
Rorschach.
Yeah, well, it's not Rorschach. It's what Dr. Manhattan says to Ozymandias when he like reveals his plot. He's like, "I did it half an hour ago. It's already done, dude. Like it's over."
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Manhattan looks at him and he says, "Without condoning or condemning, I understand."
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I won't condone acts of terrorism. But if you read what the guy wrote down, Ted Kaczynski had foresight and the will to act on it. Now, his actions, reprehensible.
Yeah.
Don't do terrorism. Terrorism's bad. Killing
Yeah.
people is bad.
Yeah.
But good Lord, was that guy ahead of his time?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was clearly a genius. You can look at like his early life and like his time. Where was he at? Like Harvard?
Mm-hmm. I don't think it was Harvard, but it was some like Ivy League type of
Yeah,
school.
some Ivy League school. A genius. And he knew where this stuff was heading. He
Mhm.
knew it was going in a bad direction. It's crazy, dude. Like again, violence is not the answer.
Yeah. Well, and it makes you wonder, like, was he kind of pushed towards that violence? You know what I'm saying? Like how Tim the other day, Burchett, was talking about.
Yeah,
like,
MK
why
Ultra.
would he bring up MK Ultra and then say,
Talking about
"Oh yeah, well,"
assassinations.
and talking about Trump's assassination?
Yeah.
He's like, "Do you really think these nobodies, like, there's 4 nobodies just out of nowhere, were like, you know what, I'm gonna kill the president today"?
Yeah.
Like, no, like that didn't just happen.
There is an insane level of social engineering that we could never guess the extent of that is going on and pushing the right people to take the right actions
Mm-hmm.
that the invisible power structure wants to see happen.
Yeah.
Like, and I know like I sound probably like super schizo when I say stuff like that. But again, like I said at the
Never,
beginning of
dude.
the episode, the way we combat this is to choose joy and go, dude, no matter what they do, I'm still happy. Whatever they do, I'm still winning. They cannot destroy my spirit and my love for life.
Yeah, but that's the problem with it. It's like normal people that are capable of any type of logical thinking without overwhelming emotion, dudes aren't doing this stuff. They've found their target audience to do this stuff. It's the people that are hopped up on hormones and have cut their weens off.
Well,
and
they're
are-
easily manipulated.
Yeah. Well, they're also hopped up on all these hormones, and they have something to fight for. Like that's the same. That's the reason why every single shooting we're seeing now is following the same exact pattern. They're all transgender people.
Mm-hmm.
They're cutting their weens off, and they're changing their body in such a dramatic way that their brain can't keep up with all the different compounds of chemicals that are being introduced to it that aren't natural.
Yeah.
Like when I worked at the hospital, I saw a lot of this. Kids on hormones that are suicidal. 12, 13, 10, like really young kids. Their parents are giving them hormone injections.
Yeah.
And they got breasts and weens, and they're wanting to kill themselves, and they're crazy. They're crazy.
That reminds me. I'm all over the place with these topics, but I read yesterday in Belgium, in Europe, there's a few countries in Europe where a 16-year-old kid, without the consent of their parent, can walk into a clinic and elect to be euthanized.
Yeah, they can do that in Canada.
Wow.
I think.
I don't know about 16-year-olds, but
No,
they do have
I think you can do it.
They have
at
assisted
16.
suicide.
So what I read was only adults in Canada, only adults in the United
We're
States.
talking about a 2-year difference.
Yeah, but 16 without parental consent.
That's crazy.
Can you imagine your 16-year-old just leaves the house when you think they're going to their friend's house?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't come back.
They just don't come back. They walked into a doctor's office and said, "Hey, doc, I'm done." And the doctor's like, "All right, lay down. Your kid's gone forever."
I don't understand how you could do that as the doctor, you know?
It's insane.
It makes you wonder if it's happening or if it's just like something that is allowed to happen. But I'm sure it's happening, you know?
Oh, dude, I'm certain of it. And you don't really have to have a reason. Like, you don't have to be like terminally ill.
Yeah.
It's insane, dude.
That is
We're
crazy.
living in such a crazy time. But again, screw it. We ball, dude. Like, we're good, dude. Life is good. Love people, dude.
Yeah, for the
Life rocks.
to be eligible for medical assistance in dying, you must be 18 years old and mentally competent.
In Canada.
But how do you deem somebody mentally competent?
That wants to die?
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. I don't know. I don't see
Like
how
the
you
only
could.
way I could see it is if they're like 90-something years old, have like 8 different cancers and can't move, and they're like, just do it.
Nah, dude, you gotta thug it out. I don't believe in that.
I'm not saying I agree
whatsoever.
with it, but I could be like, okay, maybe that guy is of sound mind.
Who's the prime minister? What's the date, mate? Eh?
Yeah.
Even
Perfect.
If,
He
like,
sounds fine to me. Do you want to die? Yes.
like I obviously I'm not in that situation, but I gotta think, even if I was like terminal, like I gotta choose to thug it out, dude.
Well, my thing is there's always a chance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even if you're right there on the edge, there's always a chance that you could beat it.
Well, I mean, nobody gets out of here alive. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
Like, we all got to go somehow, but we're supposed to thug it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, imagine if you had no belief system, dude. That's people we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody that's given their life to Christ and started to build a relationship with him is willingly just going to be like, you know what? Off me. You know?
Yeah. That's really sad, man. That's like it's crazy to think some people are just out here like adrift
Mm-hmm.
in a world without any like order to like themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're just out here with no kind of like structure for the universe.
I can't
Yeah.
believe the people
That's
of
crazy.
Canada are cool with that. As soon as we make them part of America, dude, that's gone.
Yeah, dude.
As soon as we
Canada
buy
51.
our hat, yeah, our
Dude,
hat
it's
out.
happening in America too.
Yeah, it's happening everywhere.
Like in like liberal places. Like I think New Jersey, I think Washington State.
They're
like-
legally doing that
Yeah, they're putting people down like dogs, dude.
for real.
For real.
I have not heard of this.
It's happening in America.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy, dude. It's also just incredibly sad
Yeah.
to know that someone is dealing with something that's so bad. The only way they can get away from it in their own mind. Like, obviously, we think, okay, there's other solutions, right?
Yeah.
But it's like they are at a point that's so low, like they're just like, it would be better off if I was dead. Like, how do you condemn that person? You know,
Yeah.
like
I
it's
don't
not.
know. that's like when I we've talked about this before, but getting people to buy into like the value of human life and their own life and being in a society. Because there's a lot of people are disillusioned with America, with society, even with their own life. They're disillusioned at being alive.
This is a company that medical aid in dying.
Yeah.
They're called Compassion and Choices. What a bunch of
Is that an American company?
Yeah.
scumbags.
Made.
Pieces of shit.
They're called MAID, MAID, medical aid in dying.
They are pieces of shit. Compassion and Choices.
Yeah.
And helping people die in California, Colorado, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Vermont, Washington, D.C., and Washington. All of these states are no longer states in the United States for me, and I won't be going there.
That's insane.
Pieces of shit.
That's crazy.
All of them. And anybody that lives in that area and agrees with that shit, you can stay there. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there were so many places like
I didn't know there was that many. I knew
that kinda
Jersey
pisses
and
me off.
Washington.
Well, see, and that's what ticks me off, dude, is it's like, that's the capital of our nation was one of those.
Yeah.
You know?
You can stay your ass there. Everybody else that don't like that, you can come on to Tennessee.
That's crazy, dude.
It's insane.
Yeah. And if you're here and
And
you like
then-
that, that's where you can go, right there, one of them places.
What's even worse than that is in like every state, there's abortion clinics everywhere.
Yeah.
Like that's one that like I don't think about often, but when I do, I'm horrified and I don't understand how God doesn't just wipe us off of the face of the earth.
Yeah.
That one's more understandable to the weak and feeble human mind, to me, than that.
Yeah.
Killing an adult person. Like if someone was, do I agree with it? No.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they should exist. But a female that had just been raped and finds out she's pregnant and she's not in her right state of mind, it's like a person that commits suicide. I don't think that someone would go to hell just for committing suicide. I don't know. So in this state of mind, without a Christian role model in their life to talk to them about it, they've got no one to turn to, and they do this. I don't think they're condemned for life.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Well,
it's like
say,
that's complicated.
because I've thought that before. That like the three exceptions that like Republicans have always kind of conceded to. But when you approach it from the idea, like Bill Burr had this really funny joke. I know we're talking about abortion, but the idea of it was like if you're gonna put a cake in the oven, you know, it's not a cake when it goes in the oven; it's batter. But if somebody walked in, grabbed that batter out of the oven and slammed it on the floor and kicked it across the room, you wouldn't go, dude, you screwed up my batter. You'd go, what the hell did you do to my cake?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So no matter what, abortion is taking a life that would have been.
I don't disagree.
So then you have to ask yourself, and it's an innocent life.
Mm-hmm.
How good of a reason, what line do you draw where it's okay to take an innocent life?
So you also have to say too, like, I'm more towards what you're thinking, because 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 12-year-old girl is pregnant, right?
Yeah.
And she goes to her doctor. That's supposed to be the person who helps her preserve life and like be healthy, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they tell her, if you have this baby, it's probably going to kill you.
Do you
Hold
know
on. Just hold on.
how many of those actually
But what I'm
occur?
saying is, it doesn't matter if it's one, to me. Like
I agree with
doesn't
life
matter.
of the mother. If it
But what
comes
I'm
down
saying
to
is-
the mom or the baby, somebody's dying.
Is if that's not the case, right? Like, say it's not the case, but that's what they're being told.
Yeah.
Which I think would happen probably more likely than not. I don't think it would be legit, like, oh, you're going to die, you know what I mean? Like, I do think there are certain things where they can say, okay, this is what we see inside of your body right now, and the likelihood of survival is very low.
Do you know that
Right.
those cases
But-
make up less than 1% of all abortions?
That's not really the point.
That doesn't matter. What I'm
just
saying
saying.
is you cannot condemn that girl for that action because she doesn't know.
Yeah.
She's not old enough to drive a car, dude.
Yeah, I agree with
and
that.
people are like pointing their fingers at the moms.
I don't think that is the way to react to it and to approach it from this angle of like condemning them aggressively. But for me personally, it still comes down to that idea of there's no good reason to take an innocent life.
Which
And
I get where you're coming from.
I get the emotional aspect of it, like in a case of rape or something like that. Does that suck? Yeah, that's awful. That's the worst thing I could think of. To be violated and then to have something growing inside of you that you never wanted.
Yeah.
That is a reminder of the most traumatic event that's ever happened to you. That's awful.
Mm-hmm.
But that's still an innocent life. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I
like-
agree with what you're saying. I think it's just a difference between you're saying what's acceptable and what's not, and we're talking about what's understandable and what's not.
Yeah.
Would I accept that if it was like my wife? I don't want this one. She would never do that, but I don't want
Yeah, I get
this.
what you're
I
saying.
would say absolutely not.
Mhm.
Now she's a grown woman; she'll do what she wants either way. But I would say if you're asking me, no, I don't. I don't want to. She gives me a reason that sounds good to her. It's like, I mean, you're gonna do what you want. I understand what you're saying, but I don't want you to do this. I'd be very upset. I'd be tore up over it. You know what I mean? But it's my wife. What if Grace? If you all have another one, which you do, you will when you have your daughter.
I will
If
not.
the doctor came to you and said, only one of them's going to live, we can take the baby out now, and Grace will not make it, or we can try to, you got to pick one. If you're in one of those scenarios, are you going to pick the baby? Or you're going to pick your wife?
I mean, obviously, like, you're going to pick your wife.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick my wife.
Yeah.
We'll make another.
But,
baby.
again,
And that's the same thing, though.
that's less than 1% of all abortions that are, like, done in the United States.
I get what you're saying. Most of it is, oh, I slept with this guy, or oh shoot, I slept with this girl.
See, and that's a culture problem.
Yes.
Plan B started all that. Plan B, just take this. You're doing the same thing. You're just pissing it down the toilet. What's the difference? There's not one.
Yeah.
Everybody's done that, and I've been with women that have taken the Plan B.
Yeah.
I've been a part of this.
Yeah.
So it's not. It's the same exact thing.
100%.
It's what's acceptable and what's not. You know what I mean? And the different, and what's understandable and what's not.
Yeah. I just think, but when it comes to abortion itself, I think that's such a like a below the line issue whenever we're talking about politics, right? Like I don't think that's an issue like how you say I'm a one issue voter or one whatever when it comes to gun rights, right? Like that's all you're really concerned with is like who's going to do the best to protect our Second Amendment.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. Saying who's going to protect whether they can have abortions or not, that does not make sense to me. Because my thing is that's such a controversial issue. That's why it's brought up, right?
Yeah.
Because it's another thing that they can say, oh, well, this is against this. It's just like every other thing should be a case-by-case basis. 100%. You're still taking an innocent life. I get that.
Yeah.
100%.
Shouldn't be a political issue.
No.
It should be like the doctor should offer that because we don't want these women going out there and jabbing themselves with coat hangers and killing themselves and the baby. So should there be a medical outlook? Yes. What we need to change is the culture of it. We need to have people out there that give a crap. Like, have you seen Officer Tatum's little bus he pays for?
I don't even know who that is. Who is this officer?
Brandon Tatum.
person?
He's a YouTuber. He used to be a cop. Now he's a political. He's not a political figure. I guess maybe he is. I don't know. Anyways, he pays for this bus to go. I can't remember what it's called, but it basically is an anti-abortion bus. They go around and tell you about the baby and it teach you about, at what point it becomes a human life and show you like, what it looks like inside to try to make you care about it, to keep it instead of trying to kill it.
Yeah.
To give it a chance. You know what I mean? That's what we should be doing, changing the culture instead of just saying, I don't like it, so you shouldn't do it. Like, okay, screw you. I mean, you could say that about a lot of things. If I like it, I'm going to say screw you. I'll do what I want.
Yeah.
Because it's America. So
I don't know, dude. I feel like this is like obviously like a really controversial topic, but I feel like I would be like a real like wuss if I didn't say exactly what I think on this.
you should.
And I think that I don't want to live in a place where I don't want to ever be okay with a society that treats abortion the way that our society does right now. Like, I don't think that God can look down on that society favorably,
I mean, I agree with that.
you know?
In the aspect of using it as something after you've had your sexual gratification as a tool to keep you from having a child. I agree. with
Yeah.
that.
See, I think in the understanding of God, it really wouldn't matter the context. I'm saying for us and our human capabilities, me understanding it, I'm not God. My judgment, like the way that we are taught to judge in the Bible is to like safeguard ourselves from things that we shouldn't be going along with. We're not the decider of their
fate.
Yeah, of their fate. So that has that shouldn't have an impact on what you believe. That's not your decision to make. You should guard your heart and yourself from it, using your judgment to guard yourself from things that you know aren't good. And as a Christian follower, you know it's not right, so you shouldn't be okay with it. And that makes sense. But to tell them, like, you know what I mean?
To tell them to stop killing babies?
No, I mean, to like, if you had someone in your face, would you just say that to them plainly? Like, yeah, if you kill it, you're a piece of shit or whatever. You know what I mean? What would you say?
I'd say that's a baby.
Yeah. So what's wrong with that? I don't see anything wrong with that.
What do you mean?
With you saying that, I mean.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
Okay, you sounded like you were making a much harder stance on it.
No, you're killing a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is what it is. Yeah, literally. I agree.
That's insane. And we treat it like very like there's a lot of people that don't think it's a big deal.
Oh, it's a big deal. You're killing it's life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think is one life more important than the other? I don't know.
Babies.
I don't know.
I mean, we're
we
taught to
are
safeguard-
psychologically from like the early stages of human like existence on Earth. It's hardwired into our psychology and every instinct that we have to protect babies.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most valuable life because it represents potential. It represents raw potential of this baby could grow up to be the best person that's ever lived.
Well, and it's just like a
Good.
direct order from God to go forth and multiply, you know?
Yeah.
So I get where you're coming from. But what I'm saying is I also understand where he's coming from. Because, like, how do you weigh one life against another? I understand that it's a baby. I understand that. And they don't have the choice, right? Because they're
Yeah.
a baby. But, like, we have zero right to say whether the mom should live or whether the baby should live, I think.
Well,
If- I know
do
that's-
concede to that point that if it's life of the mother,
Mm-hmm.
then that's reasonable.
Yeah.
If only one of them is making it out, that's somewheres where I couldn't fault somebody for going, hey, look,
Yeah.
like, it is what it is. But again, people will sit and argue that point until they're blue in the face.
Yeah.
And again, less than 1% of all abortions are life of the mother.
Yeah. which
I think
get-
we all
get.
agree that we wish abortion didn't exist.
Yes.
But it does. And it will.
And it's never going to go away.
And they will do
And
it.
that sucks.
They will find. They'll
That's
do it with
bad.
a pill. They'll do it with chemicals. They'll do it with a rusty coat hanger.
Well, and there's no doubt about
Whatever.
it. There's millions of lives that are taken every day in America because of it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's still a life taken, and that's going to have to be answered for. But my thing is we can't condemn. I have seen it firsthand, like a teenager who later on hates herself whenever she's like in her 20s or 30s because of something she did and was influenced. She was influenced by her parents
Yeah.
most of the time, right? Because everybody's this great Christian person who doesn't believe in abortion until their daughter's knocked up by somebody.
Yeah.
You know, well, you can't skate over that. That's how people do, you know?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like, she was influenced, the specific person I'm talking about is influenced by her parents at the time
Yeah.
because of the individual that was the father, right?
Okay.
So she's carrying the weight and is condemned by people's opinion of her because that happened.
Yeah.
That's not right. That's not okay.
To me, this
Absolutely.
is the exact same thing as somebody killing themselves. It's like the state of mind that they're in is so heavy. There's so much going on that we don't understand because we're not in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't believe just because someone kills themselves. If they're a person of faith, I don't think that they just go to hell like people say.
Yeah.
Like Christians would normally say. I don't think they
Yeah.
just go to hell because
I agree
you have
with that.
no idea the state of mind, because like intent and everything weighs into the Bible. Like the word intent and its meaning is
Me
brought up
and
in the Bible.
Randy have talked about that a lot because I asked him about it. I was like, "What do you think about this?" And he's the same way. Like, he agrees.
I think abortion and suicide would be the same thing. Like unless they were just like, you know, like a prostitute, and they're like, whatever, just throw another one away. Who cares? Had this one, chucked it in the trash can. That would to me it would be evil.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's like the normal scenario where they're just like they have no influential person of faith in their life, they have no belief system in Christ, and this is the social norm. This is what everybody does. You have a baby that you don't want. Just go abort it. It's not a big deal.
It's a tool of
What do you expect them
manipulation
to
of the
do?
devil. You know what I mean?
And I don't mean to say that it's some kind of like unforgivable sin. Like, it's just like anything. But where I draw the issue is, like y'all are saying, like it's a cultural thing. Like, that's my biggest issue with it is the way that doctors, the media, the culture portrays it as just an easy option. Just hit the easy button.
Yes.
I'm not ready to
Now,
be a
I
parent.
agree with that.
I don't have to be a parent.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
It should never be like an easy thing to deal with.
Yeah.
Right? But I mean, it comes back to the argument of like, okay, well, if we just got rid of it altogether, then we wouldn't have to worry about it, right? But that'd be like saying if we got rid of all the guns, all the knives, and cut off our hands, we wouldn't have to worry about people killing each other.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I do think there is cases where it's a legitimate medical procedure.
Yeah. Now,
Like-
is it very few and far between, of course, but we don't know. We just know what we're told, right? It's another tool of like, oh, well, it's less than 1%. It could be 50%. It really could be. Now, is it around here because we see it every day? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like, you can't. I just think it's so easy for people who have not had to deal with it in their own personal life, because that is even lower than 1% of the population, right? Let's be real. We have half the country essentially that's on board for it, half the country essentially that's not on board for it, which I think those numbers are skewed also. But we're talking about the entire population. So if you want to talk about the 1% of people who deal with abortion being less than 1% of the people that deal with it, 90% of people don't deal with it anyway. It's not a very common thing. It's not as a big of an issue as what people make
Especially in our area.
That's what
I
I'm
think
saying.
in big cities, it's a lot more common.
And it would be dumb to say that that's not the case because there's a lot more people, right?
Yeah.
So that's a silly argument. Like, but what I'm saying is like we're fighting over an issue that affects such a minuscule amount of the public. It's unreal, but it's enough to where they can make it seem like, okay, well, we can just get this side to fight against this side. Let's divide them again. You know?
Yeah, I can see that.
And it's another tool of the devil.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. You know what I mean? And it's been made that way. Because, I mean, there was no way some guy was just like, you know what? Let's just start killing babies. You know what I mean? I'm sure it was being used for some sort of medical thing, a medical response, right? Because obviously we used to be somewhat of a Christian nation. We weren't established as a Christian nation, but it was just more likely than not you were a Christian, right?
I think this is just a progression of like medical science. You know what I mean? That people were aborting their children in ancient times. Like, this isn't a new thing.
Yeah.
They were drinking potions and tonics and struck in the stomach and stabbing themselves.
Well, it's become more acceptable in the
just-
culture, like you were saying. It's a cultural thing.
This is just kind of like, I think this is a medical answer to something like where people have done this to where they can safely do it, that has turned into, now it's not, oh, this woman stabbed herself with a coat hanger, let's abort the child and save her life. Now it's like let's just abort it before you get to that point. You know, we're all good. I think it's just transitioned into that. It was a medical like safeguard to prevent women from doing crazy shit like that to hurt themselves, to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And do it in a safe manner where it wouldn't hurt them, just get rid of the baby. And then now it's like it's turned into, well, let's just do this. Let's just offer that in general.
Yeah, and they use it as a
I don't know.
tool
I'm
of-
assuming, but you know what I mean? It sounds like the natural progression of things.
Yeah, I would agree.
Have you seen Revolutionary Road?
Mm-mm.
Never mind. I was gonna recommend it, but then I think about it. It's actually one of the most depressing films I've ever seen. So, Revolutionary Road. It's a really good movie, but it like, dude, it'll have you just like blank face, like staring at the screen after it's over.
Never heard of it. What's it about?
Yeah, me neither.
It's really hard to describe.
I mean, if it's that good of a movie, it shouldn't be. I can tell you everything about
what's it
Talladega
about?
It's
Nights.
a fantastic movie.
What is the premise of the movie?
Does it have something to do with abortion? I'm assuming.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, but that's like really a pretty small part of the movie. But it's kind of like an important part, but not really. I don't know. It's hard to describe. Just forget I said anything.
Okay. But regardless, I think it's a heavy issue to talk about morally, and it's a below the line issue to talk about politically.
It shouldn't be political. It should be up to our
No.
culture.
Yeah.
We should just, you know, we as parents should be teaching our children the hookup culture is not cool.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
it's not. We thought it was cool. I mean, we
100%.
still like you know,
We're in one of the darkest parts of the world, law enforcement, dude.
yeah,
For it.
yeah.
It's a normal thing.
Oh yeah,
And it's like it takes you, and it's very easy to like be like, oh, it's just normal. It's just what happens, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever, it's not a big deal.
we say it all the time.
Exactly.
It's not okay.
Yeah.
And it's
It's
not
not cool.
normal, you know?
You know how cool? My little brother is the coolest person I've ever met as far with this topic. Waiting till marriage, for real.
Yeah.
22 years old or 21, however old you are, I don't remember. But still refuses to indulge in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I wish I was you. I wish my wife was the only person I've ever been with.
Yeah.
That would be so
Yeah.
cool.
Same. And I can say that
Yeah.
having 2 kids with a different person.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something that I don't think anybody's really proud of.
I
Unless
wish
they're
I-
like, oh, dude, I banged this old girl. And
Yeah.
it's like,
That's some kid shit.
yeah.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
It was really cool when I was 18. Now, as an adult, like an actual grown up,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's not cool.
No.
Who cares?
No.
It
But
really
it's,
made no
I was
difference.
watching something on this yesterday, too. It was a pastor talking about it. And he was talking about why the culture around, like, sex is such a powerful thing on humans. And he's like, well, when God was creating the world, he was like, oh, it's good, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever he created humans, he was like, these are very good. So it's
Yeah.
like we are automatically going to have a huge attraction to the human being.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
sin entered the picture where it's like, oh, we're very good. And now all of a sudden we're the utmost evil possible, because it's not necessarily like evil as much as it is. It's just an absence from God, right? Like that's what sin is. And it's like, now we're absent from God, and the only thing we have is this next best thing, which is a human,
Mhm.
because that's what he said himself. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's an image. It's something that we have access to whenever we're in absence from God. It's an immediate connection to the best thing he's ever created, which is humans.
Yeah.
So I get that. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. You know
I
what
think
I
a
mean?
big part of the problem, though, is like how much we have extended, like childhood. Like
What do you mean?
back in the day, you were a man at like 14.
Yeah.
We continually stretch out how long it's acceptable to live like a child.
Well, and I mean, there's people that are on the tit at like 45, 50.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But look at like the average like 22-year-old now compared to like what a 22-year-old would have been doing in like 1950.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not even that long ago.
Yeah.
Like, and I think there comes an issue where like you were expected to be like married and like making a family much younger than you are now. Like people are waiting till they're like 30, 35, 40 to like get married and start a family now.
Yeah.
So I think that's where a lot of that like hookup culture comes from, is this sort of lengthening of this adolescent period where technically you're an adult
Yeah.
and you want to have access to an adult lifestyle, but you're approaching it with the mind of a kid.
Yeah.
Like, think of like the average college student.
Yeah.
They act like kids, dude.
I agree.
And
But
it's
I
like
mean, I think
you're
there's-
on paper, you're
there's-
a man.
I mean, people act like kids until they're like 25.
They act like it's past that.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? There's people that we work with that act like children.
I mean, like the majority of them, though. Like, if I see somebody that's like 25, 26 or below,
Mhm.
and they're doing something really stupid, I'm like,
He's just a kid.
this checks out.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be that way.
No.
Like,
No.
you should have higher expectations of yourself and the people around you.
Mhm.
Like, as even like an 18, 19-year-old, like, it's not playtime, dude. Like, life will pass you by.
Mhm.
If you don't like get it together and start thinking like a man and developing the things you need to develop and approaching it like an adult.
Well, I mean, it's just knowing that your actions there's ramifications to your actions,
Yeah.
and there's no accountability anymore. Like we're always like, oh, he's just a kid, you know. Well, it's not a big deal. He's just young, and it's
Yeah.
like we have to hold people accountable at a very young age.
Absolutely.
You know, as a society. No, I'm not speaking from like law enforcement standpoint, even though I think the way law enforcement in the United States is conducted is absolutely piss poor. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is as individuals, we have to hold our children accountable at a very young age.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's where that comes
That's one of the things I tell juveniles anytime I deal with a juvenile,
hmm
like especially runaways or anybody that like a 14-year-old, for example. I go, dude, you've got 4 years and then it's all on you, big
Mhm.
dog. Like you are not a man yet, but you right now you're developing the man you're going to be.
hmm
Like you're getting close, dude. Like there will come a time when it's all on you.
Yeah.
And like, especially as a teen, like I try to get them to understand, like you're between a kid and a man.
Yeah.
That's a tough spot to be. You know, like you're still a kid, but you're starting to get responsibilities. Like you need to be ready for those responsibilities and be a steward of those responsibilities. You know what I mean?
hmm Well, and it all stems from, I mean, you know where that comes from. It's the removal of the father figure from the home in our nation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't think that's just it. I think there's a lot of kids we deal with that have fathers. It's poor examples of fathers.
But that's what I'm saying is the example of the father in the home and what he should be is not where it should be in America.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not. That is one thing. Like over in the like Middle East, for instance, the father is a very big deal in the home, and it's like, am I saying like they're pursuing things they should be pursuing? No, but the father is genuinely respected.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean sometimes he goes and gets out of hand over there, or like even in like South America, like they whoop the crap out of their family? I'm not saying that's what you should be doing, but what I'm saying is like the role of the father is still very high in other cultures. Now look at our culture and what we've become as a nation.
I think
And
Yeah. We've forgotten that if you spare your child the rod, then you surely do not love them.
yes,
That's what
Well,
we've
also
forgotten.
think we
yeah.
price people out of their time and out of like the opportunity to like really parent. Because we live in a country where pretty much both parents have to be working a full-time job if you're going to make it.
well, and we also live in a country where the law enforcement now will come and take care of your parent duties. Let's be real. How many times have you went to a house and it's some situation where we should not be dealing with it? It's not a criminal
crime.
issue, right?
Yeah.
And we're there. And this is where the conversation where we were last night, we're like, well, there's a difference in a good cop and a good person, you know? Like what someone's idea of a good cop is sometimes
Yeah.
will be different than what somebody's idea of a good person is.
Right.
from
I
the
don't
same
think
individual.
the most effective cop is necessarily a good cop.
No, I don't either.
I don't think the most
But-
efficient cop is necessarily a
But
good
what
cop.
I'm saying is like we've come to a society where the father is forced to be removed because it's just a fact that dudes if they are not if you take a non-lazy guy and a non-lazy lady, the guy is going to produce more.
Yeah,
It's just how we're built.
absolutely.
Now, if you flip it around as far as the influence on your children at home, I think the mother has the most influence as far as the morals and things that are taught to the children, because the dad has a responsibility to be upholding the home. So he should be focused on the well-being of his children and everything. And your morals, like your love and your nourishment and stuff, and like your emotion dealing with, should come from the mother. I really
if she's a
believe
good helper,
That's what I'm
she'll
saying.
be reinforcing the father's beliefs
exactly
in the home
exactly
and maintaining the standard, like a king and queen, like a king and queen. When the king goes off to battle, the queen is the arbiter of the town of enforcing the king's rule.
exactly.
So
And it's
your
like-
queen at home should be enforcing your rule as the king of the home.
Yes, and like
Not just
we've
doing whatever
gotten
the hell
away
she
from
wants.
that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
Like look at our state specifically, right? If there's like a divorce or some sort of child dispute, the dude gets raped over it. Like
Yeah.
you get it broke off in you, and sometimes it's warranted, right? Like sometimes the guy should be held to a higher standard, regardless. I think, but there's never a solution where removing the father is the solution, but.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the standard for unmarried couples. is
That's what I'm
removing
saying.
The father. It's
Removing the
bullshit.
father. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then if they it's like the society in the U.S. as a whole is not like, oh, let's remove the father, and let him have the opportunity to build himself up and be the leader he should be for his children. It's let's remove him and then try to remove everything he's got to make him look weak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's what happens in every single situation. I'm just saying the governmental system and the way we handle those kinds of things, it's never like, okay, well, now it's time for you to step up, be a dad. We're going to give you the opportunity to take care of this child. It is get out. She doesn't want you there, and you have to pay her this much money so that you can see your children.
That's an
You know
issue.
what I'm saying? That is a big problem.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
it's like, and it takes a lot of self realization to see, because the dude's accountable for that essentially. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've talked to Raven before about the boys' mom and been like, it was not me, like us splitting up. Like, yeah, everything's good now, but that was a massive failure on my part. Like I was married to her, you know, like it was my responsibility for her and the children to take care of them, and I could not do that. And like that's something I have to deal with. You know what I mean? Now, would my life look the way it does now? Absolutely not. Like, do I think everything happens for a reason? Absolutely. But like what I'm saying is like you have to take accountability for your actions, and in that one, that was an F for me. Like that was a failure.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that does that mean I'm gonna like that? What I like how I raise my boys now means I'm a failure? No, but a major portion. I'm not the example of what they should be following.
Right. But I also think that, like, I think we've talked about this before. I think that even your mistakes are something that your children need to see.
Yeah. I agree. But what I'm saying is I'm to a point to where I can say I made the mistakes and that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Most parents and most men are not there. It's your mom sucks.
Yeah.
Your mom's horrible. It was
Yeah.
her fault. No. I can look at everybody. I can look at Crystal in the face right now and tell her that it was not her fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a way that I have to carry. But I also have to articulate that to my kids so that they learn from it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like saying you never learn until you're in that situation is horse crap. We have books. Like if that was the case, then we couldn't establish a relationship with Christ, right? Because
Yeah.
his actual being on earth in a human body is not here right now. He's here
Absolutely.
in the Holy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like saying like, oh well, it's not happened to him, so like they don't get it. That's a huge excuse. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So like, but as a man, like you've got to be able to say, yeah, things worked out, but it wasn't because I did the right thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like it worked out eventually because I got around to the right thing. But like in that moment, I was wrong.
Yeah, you could have done something to fix it,
100%.
to resolve it, but you were done and didn't want to. That's where I was.
That's what I'm saying.
I could have fixed it, but
Yeah.
I did not.
And how many times do people realize that and don't tell their kids that?
Yeah, I
then
chose
the
the
kids are
easy
like,
path.
Oh, well, dad did it. It's fine.
Yeah.
My mom did it. That's okay. Like,
yeah.
you can see a lot of issues all the time where the parent role and their responsibility is removed because of the way culture is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Our kids are getting, it used to be MTV. Like, our kids are getting raised by MTV,
Yeah.
But now it's like, our kids are getting raised by TikTok. They're getting raised by, that's why my kids, dude, like, I refuse to give them anything. I know they have a phone with their moms, but like, I also have to respect that. I don't like that they have a phone, but I also really like that I can just call my son. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. But like, is it a net positive or a net negative? I don't know. With Jackson, probably a net positive. With Waylon, probably a negative. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and like, but we've got to acknowledge the fact and be able to tell our kids, like, I really screwed up here.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that I learned from my dad.
To make sure that they don't repeat
Exactly.
your mistake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because if they see it and they think, oh, well, I mean, life's good. We're not dirt poor. I eat every day. I get what I want. Like, as far as food goes, like, I have the choice of what I'm eating. Like, I have a bed to lay down in. I walk into my house when it's 98 outside in Tennessee for some odd freaking reason right now. And it's like, my house is 67. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have 3 cars that run good. 2 of them have AC. One of them's a Toyota Tacoma. So, like, it's awesome. And it's like, we are really blessed. And it's like, they will be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to turn all right. If I make a huge mistake like that, it's going to be fine.
Mhm.
But they're not going to know what truly is wrong and right if you don't teach it to them.
Absolutely.
And you're not going to be able to teach that to them without being on this. Because me and Crystal are on the same page about a lot of things now. Like, we have, obviously, our differences of thought and stuff. But, like,
Do you think this is a problem of dating with your ween first and not your heart?
without a doubt.
Yeah.
100%.
I think that's what yeah.
Because I can tell you what happened. Like, I was like, this chick's into me?
Mm-hmm.
Right on. You know? And then it was like, I was getting
Wow.
pulled, but it was like waist first, you know?
Yeah. Same.
And same thing for her. Like, it's not fair to her, right? Because as juveniles, right, or young teens or whatever, it kind of goes back to what you're saying. Like, there's a reason we start to have like a heavy attraction to the opposite sex in that time.
Mm.
Like, your parents don't just come in and say, hey, you are going to start liking girls right now. It just happens.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which in turn, that's whenever you should start making the big boy decisions.
Yeah.
And
You should be taught from a very young age about dating and like dating to marry.
Yes.
We're not just out here slinging dick around having a good time.
Yeah.
We're looking for the person that will be our helper
Mm-hmm.
and we will be with them forever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And how many
There's
times have you
none of
heard it?
that
Like, oh, it's just kid
nonsense.
stuff. They're going to go around porking everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nonsense.
And that's not, we're part of that. We contributed to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
Like,
And it's not cool. It's not okay.
yeah.
Nobody gives a crap if you've boned 900 people.
Yeah. Nobody really cares. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when you're 13, that's cool, and
Mhm.
everybody wants to get the higher body count. But
Yeah.
nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's
No.
not cool.
It's not.
Yeah. But it's part of society that we live in. It's become such a normal thing,
Yeah.
you know, to be like especially in our world, chasing that high.
Yeah.
Been guilty of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, this is exciting because I'm not supposed to be doing this. You know, like, it's like, it's silly.
Yeah.
And everybody does it. And it's like, how do we beat that? And it's like, I mean, you struggle with the crap every day. And especially if you have like some type of social media and it knows that you're a guy.
You beat
Yeah.
it by
You know what I mean?
calling it out, dude.
Yeah.
That's how you beat it.
Yeah.
Calling it out and saying what's right
Yeah.
and what's wrong. What's wrong is wrong, and what's right is right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
White.
I think what we're doing here and now, when you say like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the way it's always been, but that's not really like cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I think a big part of it is that's the way it's always been. And I'm part of that. And it's wrong. And I know it.
Mhm.
And just because
Yeah.
I think a certain way sometimes, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I mean, it'll be fine. It's really not,
Yeah.
you know?
We,
and it's,
we did it, and now we've grown up.
mm-hmm.
Right.
yeah.
We're not children anymore. So now
It's
you
just-
can tell children, the people, if you're listening to this and you're younger, you're thinking like a child. You grow out of it.
Yeah.
So grow out of it now rather than waiting 10 years down the road and realizing you've made all these mistakes.
Yeah.
It's not cool when you grow up out of
Oh,
it.
it sucks when you have to deal with the ramifications, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible. And that's why I think it's so easy for people to maintain that like a child lifestyle because you don't have to answer for your decisions, you know? Like I make decisions today that are not right, you know? And it's like, damn, I'm going to have to I'm going to like, oh, I'm going to have to dick with this. It's going to you know what I mean?
And that's like some of the saddest things I've ever seen is when you meet like a 40-year-old boy.
Yeah.
That's sad, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like to see somebody trapped in this world of like, it's not my fault. Everybody's done me wrong. This like excuse making, like, dude, you're 40.
Well, and there's so many substances that can turn them to where it's like numb to it, you know?
Yeah.
Whether it be pills, drugs, alcohol.
There
I
was
think
a
alcohol
time.
clearly is the biggest one.
There was
For
a time
sure.
where it was your family influence, maybe your father, and it was his fault. But now at this point, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's your fault. If you live on your own and you're still doing it, it's your fault.
Yeah. I just think it's like as a nation, we've pretty much failed our people.
Man up. Take responsibility for your own
But
actions.
again, there's still so much that's awesome about America. There's so
Yeah,
much
I
that's
agree.
awesome about being alive.
Mm-hmm.
Like the anima inside of you, like your spirit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like he said before, dude, what we're doing right now, sitting in here talking about this on an open platform. In other places, people would be hunting us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like for speaking
But-
out.
Even for those people, life rocks, dude. Dude, it's so good. Like you can find some reason to be happy and to have joy. And like even if all you've got is like the word of God,
Yeah.
like that's enough reason to like just have a good day every day.
Yeah.
Like don't get me wrong, life sucks sometimes.
Well, I don't know that it sucks. It's just really hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of it comes from like, especially in a believer stance, like we're like, oh, would you give me the strength to make it through this? And then you're
Yeah.
like, okay,
But-
let me show you how much you got, and then I'll give you a little more.
Right.
And it's like, you know?
But like we get upset over the littlest stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like it doesn't take a lot to ruin somebody's day normally.
Mm-hmm.
But you should also approach it from the angle that it doesn't take a lot to have a really good day.
No.
Like you walk
Well-
outside and you just go, the sun is shining. It's a
Mhm.
beautiful day. It's a little hot, but that's okay. Look at how beautiful it is. The East Tennessee sun.
Yeah, I agree.
Like that's all it takes to get your mind right and go, dude, I'm loving life.
I do think whether you have a good day or not is fully dependent upon you
For sure.
and in your outlook on it. for
100%.
sure. But also, this is probably the longest podcast we've ever recorded.
Yeah, 97 minutes in. I got a pee-pee.
I think
I
it was
gotta
a
pee
good
so
one,
bad,
dude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was a good one.
Let's
but,
wrap it up, guys.
I got to pee.
All right, that's the episode.
Thanks, folks.
Choose to have a good day. Choose to make sure the people around you are having a good day. Be the reason somebody is having a good day
Yeah. Make today great.
every day.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it.
Love you guys.